Who do you expect to see pleading a case? Why do some people still doubt a professional's competence just because of their appearance? What happens when someone underestimates the wrong person? And how can justice be served not just in the courtroom, but in real life? Before we begin, like this video and subscribe to the channel for more impactful stories. Now let's get to the story. Judgment Day. The Court of Justice was packed that morning. It was an important case, with the presence of renowned journalists and lawyers. In the middle of the hall, Andre Vasconcelos, a 35-year-old black lawyer, wore his impeccable suit and carried a folder with essential documents for his client's defense. As he walked to the defense bench, he noticed curious looks. No one seemed to believe he was the lawyer handling the case. Upon sitting down, the judge entered the room and the bailiff began the session. But before he could speak, the prosecutor looked around and asked, "Where is the defense attorney?" Andre blinked slowly. He was sitting there the whole time. The awkward silence. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at Andre, waiting for his reaction. The judge frowned and looked directly at him. "Sir, are you accompanying the defendant?" he asked, as if he were just an assistant or a family member of the accused. Andre straightened his tie, stood up calmly, and replied, "I'm the defense attorney, Your Honor, ready to present my arguments." The prosecutor coughed, visibly disconcerted. Some whispers arose in the audience. The trial had barely begun, but one truth was already exposed. They did not expect a black lawyer to be in charge. The veiled challenge. Even after introducing himself, Andre noticed the disguised hostility. The prosecutor tried to interrupt him whenever he spoke. The judge, even if subtly, seemed to pay more attention to the prosecution's arguments. Andre took a deep breath. This was nothing new to him. "Your Honor, I would like my arguments to be heard without interruption. I believe the defense has the same right as the prosecution." The judge adjusted his glasses uncomfortably. "You're right, Dr. Vasconcelos, proceed." And that's what he did. The twist in the case. As Andre presented his arguments, the room fell silent. He was brilliant, precise, and unimpeachable. With each fact exposed, the prosecutor fidgeted in his chair, looking for counter-arguments. When Andre finished his speech, it was clear to everyone that he not only dominated the case, but also defeated all accusations with irrefutable evidence. The judge, who had previously hesitated, now looked at him with respect. The prosecutor leafed through his papers, finding nothing that could refute the defense. It was then that the judge made the announcement. "After analyzing the evidence and arguments presented, I declare the defendant innocent." Andre smiled discreetly. Justice done. The impact on the room. As Andre collected his papers, he felt the eyes around him. Those who ignored him at first now watched him in awe. The prosecutor, still surprised, approached and shook his hand. "Dr. Vasconcelos, I must admit that I underestimated you. His work was impeccable." Andre replied with a firm tone, "Perhaps next time you will evaluate a lawyer by his talent, not his color." The prosecutor swallowed hard. The lesson had been taught. Victory goes beyond the court. After the trial, Andre left the court with his head held high. But before he reached the exit, a young law student approached him. "Dr. Vasconcelos, I was watching the trial. I have never seen a black lawyer occupying this position. You gave me hope that I can get there too." Andre smiled. That was the real victory, because justice is not just done in court, but in the minds and hearts that learn to see beyond prejudice. The unexpected invitation days later, Andre received a call from the president of the Brazilian Bar Association. His performance had attracted attention, and he was invited to speak on structural racism in the law. He accepted the invitation without hesitation. It was time to use his experience to inspire others and pave the way for black lawyers in the judicial system. Teaching by example. On the day of the lecture, the auditorium was packed. Young students and experienced lawyers listened to him attentively. Andre talked about his journey, the challenges he faced, and the importance of resisting prejudice. At the end, he received a standing ovation. He wasn't just a successful lawyer, it was a symbol of resistance and overcoming. The future starts now. With the repercussion of his talk, Andre decided to create a project to support young Black people who dreamed of becoming lawyers. He created scholarships, mentorships, and internship programs to ensure that no one would have to face the same barriers he overcame alone. Little by little, he realized that he was changing lives, and that was his biggest victory. Inspiring the next generation, Andre's project grew quickly. Universities and law firms began to support his initiative. Within a few months, dozens of young people began receiving training and mentoring to enter the profession. An invitation. To a new mission. A year later, Andre was invited to take on a prominent position in the Council of Justice, where he could implement real changes against structural racism in the justice system. A meeting with an old acquaintance during an event held by the Bar Association, Andre met again the prosecutor who had doubted him. This time, the man greeted him with respect and recognition. From ignored to reference, once seen as someone invisible in the courtroom, Andre was now cited as one of the most influential lawyers in the country. His name was marked in history. The legacy that remains. Andre knew that his fight was not just for himself. It was for all those who would come after, because true justice is not individual but collective.